Just imagine selling everything, your land, your car, even your parents' life savings, just for a shot at a better life, only to find out that it was all a lie.
I have to work endlessly, and this guy is going on and on.
Now, this isn't just a documentary. This is the reality of thousands of Africans right now trapped in a web of greed, corruption, and systemic failure. And the worst part is that the scammers are not only the ones to be blamed.
So for 3 people, this is it?
For the
2,000 for 3 people.
Now, this is not just a documentary, like I said. This is a crisis. And after watching the BBC's investigation, I felt the need to actually say something, while the sole aim of this video is actually keeping you safe. Because this isn't just about greedy scammers. It's about a system that supposedly lets them thrive. Now, let's take a holistic view at the loopholes, the lies, and the uncomfortable truth. The UK's visa system is designed to actually fail migrants. And if we don't talk about it, more lives would most likely be affected. Now, let's break it down. The United Kingdom has a massive labour shortage, especially in care work.
We also know that we're going to need an extra 500,000 additional people working in social care by 2035.
To fill this gap, they created what they call the Health and Care Worker Visa, a legal pathway for migrants to work in the UK. And as a matter of fact, I personally know a lot of persons that have migrated to the UK successfully using this route. Sounds good, right? But here's where the trap actually does begin. And legally, before you actually qualify for this visa, there are 2 basic things that you need. A job offer from a UK employer, that's one. Then number 2, you need a certificate of sponsorship, or what they call COS. Now, this is a document that proves that a company in the UK would actually hire you, right? So you know that you're actually going to be working for this company as long as you get to the UK.
So a COS is a certificate of sponsorship by a business saying, I'm going to sponsor an individual. And without that, you can't get a visa and you can't travel to the UK.
But with thousands competing for limited spots, desperate migrants turn to agents who promise them to fast-track the process for a price. Now, the BBC's documentary prominently featured agents like Dr. Kelvin Alaneme, a Nigerian doctor working in the UK who charges around £14,000 per person. Now, that's around 30 million naira, claiming they have connections to care homes, but in reality, many of these jobs actually don't exist. With the current minimum wage in Nigeria right now, at 70,000 naira, a minimum wage earner would actually work for 35 years to actually earn 30 million naira. Now think about it. But that's not even the most interesting part. Something I found most interesting is the fact that most of these scammers are actually Home Office approved, right? UK Home Office actually approved them. Take, for example, Nana Akwesi from Ghana, a man who was actually accused of scamming over £67,000 from just a group of victims. Yet, somehow, he still has a license to recruit even more workers. And from the documentary, he was talking about moving from construction. He has moved from care home to construction. Now he's talking about moving to IT, which is where an opportunity to actually scam more people is, according to him.
See that? Where it's coming
He even bragged about passing a Home Office inspection. How does this actually happen? Because the UK system is reactive, not proactive. They only crack down after people have been scammed, leaving victims stranded. So most of the crackdown we see after people have actually been scammed, which leaves a lot of persons stranded. Now, Efficiency for Care is another company that was actually prominently mentioned in this documentary. It's a tiny company, but they sponsored over 1,000 workers in a single year. How? Because no one actually checked if those jobs actually do exist, and by the time their license was revoked, it was already too late. So what happens to the victim? Many end up in the UK shadow economy, working cash jobs, overstaying their visas, living in fear of deportation, because going back home empty-handed is not even an option. Now imagine borrowing from your entire family, you sell land, you take loans, all for a dream that turns into a nightmare. The shame, the guilt, the depression. That's the real cost of these scams. Now, let's be honest. These scammers are actually evil, but they are not the only ones to blame. The pertinent question is, why are companies like Efficiency for Care allowed to sponsor thousands before they actually check if those jobs actually do exist? So why do migrants actually ignore red flags when desperation takes over? And why is it that we have actually normalized paying to migrate? No legitimate jobs ask you for £40,000 upfront. It doesn't happen anywhere, right? No agent can guarantee visa. The visa depends on the visa officer who is actually reviewing your visa and your merit. And lastly, if it actually sounds too good to be true, it's definitely not true most times. Now, whenever you are migrating, it should not be a gamble. You should actually have a plan, right? A clear-cut plan for migration. Migration should not be a gamble. It shouldn't destroy families, but until the system changes, these scams will keep happening. Let's stop waiting for the next documentary. Let's start demanding justice. And if you've not seen the documentary I'm talking about, this is it right here. Make sure to watch it and let me know what you think in the comment section, guys.